Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are talking about the FBI, the Justice Department, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA. They were all just sued by the American Civil Liberties Union literally yesterday on Halloween. Now, on the surface of it, basically the ACLU is saying they took this measure because these agencies, and I quote, failed to produce any responsive documents in response to a Freedom of Information Act request that the ACLU basically sent into the government. Now, if we're looking a bit deeper, here's what's going on. ACLU spokesperson Cade Crockford said, and I quote, "Because of the FBI's secrecy, little is known about how the agency is supercharging its surveillance activities with face recognition technology. The public has a right to know when, where, and how law enforcement agencies are using face recognition technology and what safeguards, if any, are in place to protect our rights. This dystopian surveillance technology threatens to fundamentally alter our free society into one where we're treated as suspects to be tracked and monitored by the government 24/7. Now, the belief is that the FBI, which obviously is basically working with the Justice Department and the DEA, is currently collecting biometric data on people's faces, irises, walking patterns, and voices, and has a database of at least 640 million images of adults in the United States. Now, this lawsuit was filed in Massachusetts, and it asks the government to turn over information on what data it actually has and who can access it. Now, the flip side to this basically is the argument that law enforcement and backers in technology make, which is that facial recognition is a useful tool that's going to make it easier to catch criminals and ensure safety at airports, venues with large crowds, etc. So in other words, if a terrorist is walking into the World Series that just wrapped up, would facial recognition be able to identify that person and stop that person from blowing up the World Series? I actually also talked about facial recognition development being a way to combat things like prejudice in my last TED Talk. And so, here we are. But here's the thing. Privacy advocates, Civil Liberty Union, the ACLU and all of that, basically say the technology remains flawed, which basically means that they could trap innocent people accidentally. I've talked about this, time and again. I've also used research multiple times from MIT saying that some of these facial recognition systems, when turned onto women and minorities, has a failure rate of almost 30%, and in some cases more than 30%. And by virtue of that, we've seen some cities like San Francisco shut off, or rather deny, facial recognition technology to their law enforcement. I also recently did an article called "Facial Recognition is Going to Get Somebody Killed," where I talk about Amazon and their recognition system that they are now integrating into things like the Ring doorbell that people are buying, and therefore they are creating a massive surveillance system or Amazon is creating a massive surveillance system that they are pushing and selling at breakneck speed to law enforcement around the country. So this is something I think that, as we are currently, adopting technology and, let's say, breaking new barriers and moving faster and faster and faster, laws haven't caught up. Privacy rights haven't caught up. Many of our privacy rights don't necessarily, cover a lot of these things, such as like our walking patterns, our gaits, for example. That's something that most people wouldn't consider, but we all kind of walk rather unique. And when we are adding that to different other things, like, let's say, facial recognition and all of that, then we are able to identify people with basically alarming speed. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this. I think it's a very interesting topic. I think it's also a very serious topic because in many ways the ACLU is right. If they are collecting all this information, I think as citizens, we would have a right to understand this. I work with law enforcement when, clients get breached or hit, or we have to contact the FBI. I know they're hardworking individuals that want to get their job done. I also work with other law enforcement, and I have a good deal of respect for them as well. But we also have to balance their ability, let's say, to do their job with our ability to maintain privacy. If we are making laws to the lowest common denominator, we are making laws to ensnare criminals, but by virtue of that, basically we're being impeded on when we're not really going to be breaking the law, myself included. So take that for what it's worth, but that is your news of the day, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.